Oh man. Alright, what's going on guys? Chili Games back again. No intro today. For some reason it's been wiped off of my PlayStation. I'll have to re-upload it again somehow to have it in my files. But I'm bringing you the funniest game that I have had in a carrier. And it just goes to show the almighty skill and just new ways to make people just want to cry. So, fully admit, the first half of the game is not the most enjoyable. And you say, Chili, you said you wouldn't play carriers. Well, with news that the German CVs will probably be coming in summer, it's very clear that carriers are going to be the main focus for about 99% of whatever they're going to do for this game for the next 6 months. And ultimately, carriers are only going to get stronger. They already mentioned possibly an AA nerf on that stream that they had, so better learn them now because this is going to be the game. And honestly, I was just kind of pissed off about not being decent at them. I feel like I have pretty good map awareness and all that kind of stuff, so I figured, you know, I just gotta put in the practice to get better with them. But I have the Shikaku, not the biggest fan to be honest, and recently just got the Lexington, and I have to say, within the first, you know, 5 or 6 games with the Lexington is hands down better. The Shikaku is good, but the only problem is your main armament is the torpedo bombers, which you only get 3, or I should say like 3 strikes in a full attack. And the biggest thing with that is flooding is a lot harder to come by with torpedoes than fires are compared to bombers. And it is not out of the question for these HE bombers with the Lexington to hit a battleship for 10, 15, even upwards of 20,000 damage and also get fires. While you're dropping those bombs, you're also knocking out you're also knocking out AA. So the main armament of Lexington can do significant damage compared to the torpedoes that Shikaku has, but also dual purpose in the fact that it's knocking out AA mounts as well. And as you will see in the as you will see later on in this video, it gets absolutely hilarious. This is something that I have never ever done in this game. It just made someone feel so insignificant. Go over here to see, because I realize there's a DD here. What I basically do here is I see his AA. I want to get a cheeky drop off, so I planned it too early and I wasn't looking at it right, so I'm unfortunately going to miss the drop on Vincent. However, he is spotted, so that's enough information for my team, at least. I was turning to the right, realized that it was in Atlanta, so I was like, please God no, turn the planes. You do not want to run into those ships. Here we go in for the second drop on the Vincent. Kind of a bad drop, but I was kind of worried about our BBs here and made a premature drop and miss everything. You're not going to hit many shots when you come across a DD like that. So don't expect too much. If you're not directly on them, even so, that first drop that I had on that first Benson was still a little iffy. I could have hit more. Realized that the Bismarck over here, and I figured that the Benson would have died, you know. And I was just looking back over there. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like, are you serious? Like, what's going on? So coming over here, the reason why I did not target these 3 battleships at the beginning of the match is, one, I saw our DDs were going B, so I figured I could help, and we did help kill that first Benson pretty well. But also, it's in Massachusetts, and it's 2 other BBs, and if you run into a group of 3 ships like this, you will absolutely get your planes smoked. You can still make a drop, however, you're going to lose your planes, and that is not the best thing here. Notice how far ahead I have to aim with the Shikaku. It is much, much easier to hit the torps because they are faster. And I'm also not running the fishy commander as well. So we get a flood on this guy, know that he used the damage con, so we immediately go for the HE bombers. If you take a look at the Bismarck and the Monarch, those two are going to be the casualties of war at the end of this match, and it is going to be absolutely disgusting what we do to them, and it's just kind of ridiculous. Taking a survey. It is nice having this aerial view of the map. It does give you a better kind of idea of what's going on. And here, I'm just trying to throw off this flak here. You never want to just come straight into a ship. You will lose a lot of planes due from the flak, and we still get hit there. Biggest problem with big AA ships like this Massachusetts is its continuous AA is so good. Get a perfect shot on this Massachusetts. 6 hits, no damage con, no fires. That really sucked, and that's just going to be... Imagine if we'll come back to that, but imagine if we could have gotten perma-fires on that guy, because, you know, when you hit 6 of these across the ship like that, the fire chance on these bombs are like 52%, I think. And you're almost guaranteed to fire if you hit all 6 there. Especially when I knew that he didn't have damage con, because we flooded him earlier. So, going back, another thing is I probably could be dropping planes on top of our DDs here. But I honestly, since these battleships were coming around the flank, I was kind of worried about myself, so I wanted to whittle them down as quick as possible. Again, this is not the best carrier gameplay ever. It is a pretty decent game, though. We don't get an MVP, but we're pretty close. And honestly, I didn't want to go and try to kill that other Massachusetts down at the bottom just because it would take me forever to get over there. And we already had a lot of ships committed towards that. 5 shell hits there, not shell hits, 5 bomb hits, 1 fire. That's usually, when you're striking a battleship, that's what you're going to be getting most times if you hit. I didn't look at the damage, but honestly, when you're striking a full health battleship and their superstructure is entirely unsaturated, hitting enemy ships from 15,000 is kind of the standard. I hit a Tirpitz yesterday for, I think, 17k in my first ever game. So it's kind of disgusting what these planes can do. I'm still getting used to it. Still not the best carrier player in terms of things. But what I gotta watch out here is, you notice the enemy carrier dropped fighters. I'm looking at them there. Honestly, all I want to do here is get the torps, and this was actually a pretty bad drop, but aim in front of him a little bit. I'm just trying to hit his nose to get a flood, and that's all I really want to accomplish. You know, hitting 1 torp is going to do like, what, 5,000 damage, but a full flood would easily take 40,000 damage off of that guy. So that's really where the carriers come into play. You're not the biggest damage dealer, but if you can get those precise strikes on targets that don't have damage con, that's where you're really going to be, you know, nickel and diming out these damage numbers on those big targets. And that is also why it is better to play in a division, because it is much easier to be like, hey, division mate's just like, hey, double fire on Bismarck or whatever. No, it doesn't have a damage con. If he's in a good spot, that's my next target, because if I can secure permanent damage on people, aka fires or flooding, that is where you're going to be doing the most damage. You might strike them for 10k, but if you get 2 permafires, if you get a permafire, or if you get a flood, anything like that, that's where your 30, 40, 50k out of 1 target is going to come from. Going over to our destroyers here, I'm not too sure how they are spotted or why they are spotted. These BBs were pretty well lit by everything. They got a little bit too close, but they do kill the Massachusetts, which is actually really good for me because that gets rid of a lot of AA in that sector. Still 2 BBs. I'm waiting. What I want to do here is I'm waiting to see if this Bismarck gets hit by more torps, and he does. I know that if he has damage con, he's going to burn it because he's floating, and now it is my turn to come in and strike him when he doesn't have damage con. Just things you got to pay attention to. They actually hit each other here, so this drop was a little bit more complicated than I wanted it to be, because I didn't want to hit the Monarch. I honestly don't want to touch that guy. That guy probably thought that I was going for him, but all I want to do is put floods on this Bismarck because I know that's permanent damage. And the fun is about to begin. I hope y'all are watching now. We'll say started off at 50k damage. Let's see what we can do in the next handful of strikes here. Oh man, this is some of the funniest moments that I've had in this game. Again, dodging the flag from the Monarch. I'm still not used to the drops. You see that we could have aimed this a little bit better, but we get a clear strike in the sky. 3 bomb hits, 3 fires. That is just absolutely ridiculous. And I believe that I strike him again. Is this the torpedo bombers? Yes, I select for the torpedo bombers. Oh man, this Monarch is not having a good day. Already up 40,000 damage from when we got a permaflood on that Bismarck. Now all I want to do is try to put a flood on this Monarch as well. Having the plane upgrades does give you the extra torpedo in the strikes. So that makes those bow end shots a little bit easier. We do hit one and we do get a flood. That's all we wanted to do. Monarch uses his damage control. Probably was holding on to the triple fires because he was within rotary build or whatever he had. And also he can heal a lot of that fire damage. So coming in for the next strike here. Pull it a little bit too early, but we still get some good aim on this guy, leading him perfectly. And we hit him for 3 perma fires. And those are permanent. That is just ridiculous. I mean, the RNG, that does not happen every time. But for it to happen, to get a permaflood on the Bismarck, triple fire on the Monarch, flood on the Monarch, and then another triple fire on the Monarch for a permanent triple fire is just absolutely hilarious. He ends up getting killed here. I was going to go try and kill the Monarch, but he's going to be taking damage anyways. We get a flood on the Bismarck as well, and I believe someone cleans him up here. Someone kills him. But again, as you see, another perma flood on the Bismarck. This is where you're going to be getting those big games, and he does get cleaned up by the Massachusetts. So a little bit sad we could have gotten a little bit more off him. Realize my position, and the hardest thing I think you have to learn about carriers is being in a spot where you can recycle your planes quick enough, because when you are having to fly like I am here towards a target that's like 15 kilometers away, it takes quite a while, and you're going to be less effective, because the quicker you can strike somebody, get a fire or a flood on them, and then be back instantly or as quick as possible, that is where you're going to be getting those huge, like, significant drops where you're setting permanent damage on these guys. I really miscalculate this next drop here. If you don't know, the Lexington and the Shikaku are actually very fast. They both travel like 33 knots, and I think Shikaku gets to 34, and I realized I wasn't going to get it here, so ended up having to drop there. Terrible drop on my part. But honestly, I was getting wrecked by the planes, and I was worried that I was going to lose them because he did have fighters up. If you are attacking anything and you see the carrier drop fighters, do not go into that radius. I'm not sure how close it is. I have come within like 3 kilometers of the planes, and they haven't attacked me. But if you get any closer and the fighters latch onto you, you are easily losing that entire squadron. Some of the best moments in carriers for me right now are dropping fighter pilots or fighter planes on top of them, and just 10 seconds later seeing like 5 planes shot down. Again, I'm trying to get out of this fighter pilot kind of away, and I just want to go the long way around. So fighter pilots or fighter planes are not what you want to see when you're going in for a strike. And this game is pretty much over. We just want to get a little bit more damage here as we in the match. Pretty decent play from our teams. We were able to get into a spot where we could just keep launching planes like that. Unfortunately, the Lexington is somewhat saturated still, so we don't get the biggest drop on him here. I think it's like 10k or something like that, maybe. Yeah, like 11k or something like that, but that's still really good. Unfortunately, he has damage control, but at this point in time, the match is over. So yeah, hilarious game in the Lexington. I have played Shikaku maybe 30 times, and I have not had a game like this. It's just harder to get the torpedoes to act as consistent as the AT bombers, because for Shikaku, you only get 3 bombs per drop, as opposed to Lexington's 6. So I do think that Lexington overall is a more consistent choice, I think. And as the match draws to a close, we actually do pretty decent. I was somewhat surprised, but somewhat not surprised as well. What did we end up getting here? We didn't get to first place, but we were close. If I would click through this faster. 152,000 damage. And what is that, 2,300? 2,300, not too bad, almost 2,400. So, anyways, guys, that was it. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.